The insight that truly can help you, if you really want to know the truth of the mental circus that we all live in, if you want to understand your own brain, if you want to understand that which produces the way that the human program works, you should understand that the brain is an addict, more or less. The brain works according to a certain addiction. The brain is an addict. The reason why you are as you are today is because your brain is an addict. The reason why you have been as you have been for practically all your life is because your brain is an addict. If your brain was not an addict, you would not be who you are as you are today. Practically everything in the brain operates because of a certain kind of addiction in the brain. The brain wants a certain kind of synaptic activity which releases some chemicals, some neurochemicals that the brain wants to be released. If you can see this, then you can see very deeply into your own existence, into your own life. Every spiritual teacher in the world has become what they are because their brain is an addict. Rupert Spira has come to his own conclusion because his brain is an addict, and of course he can become addicted to his new model of staying in beingness, abiding in beingness, because that's a way to counterpoint, it's a way to relate to the fact that the brain is an addict. Shunyamurti, with his model of life, of Kali Yoga and Sat Yoga and blah blah blah, is because his brain is an addict. If his brain was not an addict, if his brain did not work as an addict, then he wouldn't come to this Christmas calendar of a spiritual model. Eckhart Tolle also, if he did not have a brain that was an addict, he would not have come to his conclusion. He got sick about this and about that because of the addiction in his brain. We all get sick because of addiction in our brains. The fact that the brain is an addict makes it possible for us to develop supreme insight. And it also makes it possible for us to become sick, mentally sick, psychologically sick, and toxic and bad and self-sabotaging and bad to other people. The fact that the brain is an addict is the very fact that controls humanity. The brain is an addict, and this is a natural law. It is what makes history unfold as it does. We would not survive as a species if our brain was not an addict in this sense. So you have to understand the way that I talk about addiction in the brain in order to see this point. But if you want to release yourself from that which is your problem, you should go to the deepest core of the problem, and the deepest core of the problem is that your brain is an addict. You are stuck in certain patterns, in a certain neurocircuitry, because of addiction in the brain. If you understand this, then you can become a true human being. You can become a superhuman, so to speak. If you do not recognize and acknowledge that your brain is an addict, you will be a normal human being, but who is quite blind. We don't need that which our brain is producing. We don't really need that. But we live with it and we play with it and we let it become the mental theater of our life because it's the normal thing to do. But if we know that it plays out like this in our brain and in our mind because of a certain tendency for addiction in the brain, then we will reach a much deeper insight. So this is also what gives Buddhism its truth, because Buddhism is an answer to the addiction of the brain. Every spiritual dogma that wants to release the human being from the mental bondage is a reaction to the addiction in the brain. So in order to become more free in your life, you can see that your brain is actually an addict. Your brain is operating on addiction. There is a certain kind of synaptic activity that the brain wants to happen. There's a certain kind of neurochemicals that the brain wants to be released. This is the engine of the brain, is the way it works. It's the way that our species survive. We survive because of this tendency inside the engine of the brain, inside the way that the human program inside the brain works. So if you're able to see this, you will get a new healthy outlook and comprehension of that which is addiction. Because addiction is a brain condition. It is a brain disease, it's a brain disorder. When it's not understood correctly, it will produce disease and addiction to any kind of thing. But the core problem is the addiction in the brain itself. So when we see this, we get more able to live within the human program, within the brain that we all live in. Thank you.